Let's go. Game time.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Better Baby Daddy podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, John Laxman.
I'm your other co-host, Kelly Burgess.
And today we're going to talk about the power of male friendships and how that support system is so beneficial and so necessary for men as they transverse this world of baby mamas.
It's incredibly important if you're in a situation of the audience that we're reaching out to where, you do not have your primary partner, which is your kid's mom, in your life. And now, okay, you're reconstructing this support group around you. And you got to have some wise people in there. And it's important to have some guys that understand you.
Yeah. So let's dive into some, I guess, for lack of a better term, personal reflection on how male friendship has positively impacted you.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that question.
Yeah.
We were looking at the outline and I said, don't have any, I mean, I have some specific examples, but, the things that come to mind is like, at your darkest moments, who were the dudes who were there with you? I think a couple episodes we talked about 3 a.m. cats. You got to have some 3 a.m. friends. Like when stuff breaks out and it's 3 a.m. in the morning, who are you calling or who are you texting? And so a couple of times where there's one particular friend who I've known for almost 4 decades.
Oh, man.
Probably, he's been married 32 years. I knew him a couple years before that. So we're going on 35 years. And so he has seen me from, mid-20s to almost 60. And all the stuff that you traverse when you go through that time. So he's seen, girlfriends and breakups and fiancés and marriages and divorces and kids and another divorce and kids and evictions and, he's seen the lows.
Yeah.
And he, without judgment, has been there at all the lows. And so I wouldn't be the man that I am without that friendship. And another one that's very close to him too. The three of us kind of run the same race. They kept me sane. They allowed me to just do foolish things and then go walk it back. They allowed me to send some little trail, some flyers out on, hey, I'm thinking about doing that. And they're like, you might not want to do that, right? And it was good that I didn't do that. Lifesavers, man. So very, very important. And not that there wasn't other men or ladies along the way, but those two relationships, because of length of time and where they were and how low I was, essential.
Powerful stuff.
How about you?
Man, as you were talking, I started thinking about, my best friend who lives up north of us. And we've been friends since, literally best friends from the day we met. I think we just became best friends in 3rd grade.
Okay.
And I'm 41 years old now.
Okay.
He's turning 41 at the end of the month here. And, he's never been a very vocal individual. But man, do I got to give him props for being there in any moment that I truly needed him.
Right.
It's a low maintenance friendship, but we don't have to talk every day. Yeah. We don't have to do all those things, because we are 300 miles apart. Yeah. But if I called him up or I text him like, yo, this is emergency. What you need? Yeah. What you need, Lax? I'm there. 100%.
Yeah.
He has been an influential person in my life from an example standpoint. I look at him and I'm like, yo, this dude has impacted me from the standpoint that he's showing me a path in regards to relationships, that I haven't been successful at. Yeah. But he's maintained that. Yeah. So that it's someone that, that's definitely positively impacted me. I can remember when I first experienced, not the first time I experienced, but I experienced, the separation from my second BM. I'm down here in Maryland. Call him like, bro, I'm coming up to Pittsburgh. He's like, where you want to go? I said, I don't know. He's like, all right, we'll go to the casino. There's bars, casino, everything, blah, blah, blah. And we out there. And he dropping a hat. I don't know what he got going on, but he's like, let's go. Yeah. He could have had something set up with his wife or anything like that. And let's go. Where we going? Oh, and there's been other people too. I don't intend to leave anyone out because there's other friends since high school that have been very influential and positive in my life. And I look at them and I'm like, how they have navigated the relationship waters so much better than I have. Yeah. And just having people to reach out to. I built certain relationships with people not knowing the positive impact that they would have down the road. Mutual friend that we have, that relationship started as a business transaction essentially, right? And now I can call that dude right now and he'd be like, yo, Lax, why you call me now? What's good? What do you need? Yep. And then the relationship that I built with you that I had no idea that would take the path that it's taken.
Yeah. Hey, who knew?
Yeah.
5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Definitely. But we would both agree that, when we sit back and reflect on it, man, those relationships are worth gold.
Absolutely.
And so, to the folks that are listening to us, if you're not in that space, hey, you want you to know, hey, you can take some steps to begin to cultivate those kind of relationships, that inner circle that is going to run the race with you, it's just so valuable.
Moving forward, then, what are some of the misconceptions that people have about men when it comes to having emotional support?
That we don't need it. I mean, we think about that ourselves. And, if you come from I had a really, kind of passive dad.
Yeah.
And he never once that I remember out of his mouth said, hey, I need these supports.
Yeah.
Maybe later in life, like when it was close and he was getting ready to transition,
Yeah.
and you had some real talks.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to, what are you doing, Pop? I'm going to meet, so-and-so. I bounce things off more. That's my inner circle. Like, oh, okay, that's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as black men, it's like you can't be out there looking soft or claiming that, putting out there in public that you need help or you don't got this together or
Right.
you're afraid of this thing. It's like, you just don't.
Right. It's funny that you bring up black men specifically because I was listening to a white comedian. He said, you know what the highest percentage of males in terms of ethnicity that go to. It's a joke, okay? It's a joke. Highest percentage of males in terms of ethnicity go to therapists and counseling. It's white guys. And they go there and they goes, but you know who need it? The dudes that went through 300 years of torture, but they ain't going nowhere. But white dudes in there like, yeah, so listen, I got a flat tire on the way to work. But in that joke, right?
Right. It's called truth.
Outside of ethnicity, a lot of times it's the people that need to express themselves the most don't do it. And in that positive environment, right? So when we talk about those misconceptions, when we talk about men in general, right? Society tells us that we don't need it. Of society, right? A certain section of society tells us that. Or men feel ashamed for sharing that emotion because maybe there was a time in our life when we did share with a significant other and we didn't get the feedback that we felt like we needed in that moment.
Click.
Yeah.
Turn the light on in that room.
Yeah.
And never mentioned that. For me, it's funny. It was my mom. Like my mom wasn't one of those nurturing, sit on my lap, baby, it's gonna be okay. I love my mom. She was strong as steel. But that wasn't her go-to direction, And so I got used to finding out from other places, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Because the need remained, right?
Yeah,
the need remained to have feelings validated, have a space where you could do all the things like the guys in the podcast talked about, manage the range of urges and emotions that you have as a male.
Without co-regulation, right? Solo, independently figure that out. Right? That's what society tells us.
It does.
Yeah.
And so what we are trying to do as men now, and with our kids and with the children that we influence is speak to, hey, it's great to have that, right? Mm-hmm. It's great, it's great to be in your emotions, to have them, to feel them. We talk a lot about men, like feel the emotion.
Men have big energy.
Big energy, right?
Big energy.
And have that.
And we tend to identify more so with anger than any other energy.
We do.
Right?
But when, we work in a couple of mentoring situations, and when you see boys at play and you see how they command the space and the volume and the jocularity and all that, and you're like, yo, okay, they're in their natural state here. And then, something might pop off and, you got one that really just taking it too far and it's like, okay, no, we got some guardrails. Have the feeling you're upset about the player, or he joned on you or whatever, but hey, let's how do we walk it back so we can get back to this healthy activity that we're in? The feeling like that we don't need it, and then, us internalizing that we don't need it and beginning to run through life as a solo practitioner in a way, it leads to some bad outcomes.
Yep. Agreed. There are certain aspects of our emotions that we should be able to solo, independently experience, process, and release.
Right.
100%.
No doubt.
We shouldn't be running to everyone in every instance that we feel something.
Yeah.
But there are times when we need that co-regulation. We need that assistance of male friendship to help us walk through that.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important to make this statement, right? How men operate in terms of their emotion, that release of that emotion, that communication of that emotion, a lot of times isn't the same language that our partners, our significant others, speak. So then they become frustrated and not really receiving what we think we're putting out. Right?
Yeah.
So that we think we're giving them one message, they're receiving a completely different message because we're speaking different language in terms of our emotion, right?
Yeah.
We might be speaking of the logic of emotion.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
But we're not necessarily feeling it out there for them to grab and touch. And that's because, there might have been a point in our life when we were a child and we expressed something and our mother was like, yo, chill, you're being a little punk.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the exact word.
Like a girl.
Or you act like a girl.
Right, stop crying. You're acting like a girl. I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah.
And so it's a learning process, right?
Yeah.
It's learn. Well, one, just healthy male, healthy female, and a healthy relationship. There's a tension between in
Yes.
the communication. We're just different. And so when you have, a man who might not have seen those role models of how to feel the emotion, regulate it, come back, speak to it in a way that his partner or
What's that term again? Assertive vulnerability.
that really resonated with me.
Yo.
Talk about in the podcast. Like, hey, I'm exposed to you a side of me about a feeling that I'm having.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also gonna assert, my ability to say, yo, with all that, I want to move this way, or with all that, here's my boundary.
Yes.
Right? I'm gonna tell you that what you did impacted me this way. I'm not gonna internalize it or pretend it didn't happen. But I'm gonna expose it. Hey, I can catch more heat from you or whatever, but I'm still gonna move this way because I can regulate myself. If you have not seen that example, you're learning it in real time.
Whew.
We're here to tell you that there's things like strong male relationships that can help you develop a model for how to handle those situations. Yeah.
And a lot of times, you sit down with your boy and you start talking about stuff. There's no like, well, tell me more. I'm not asking you to tell me more. Right. The more comfortable you become with that man or the group of men that you speak with, the deeper you get, And it's not, a lot of times when we speak with other men, we're not necessarily looking for an answer. Right, every single time, right? I'm not coming to you. I'm coming to you, but like, yo, bro, this is what's going on in my life, and you're like, yo, that's crazy, And you might walk me through certain things, or certain scenarios, or certain situations, and I might take that in. I might internalize that and see what I did wrong. Our default as men a lot of time is to just give a blatant answer. But I think when men talk with other men about deep, foundational, relationship, emotional type things, there is a high degree of listening that occurs that people don't understand.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because it's respect. There's this like mutual respect, especially from a man that's experienced similar things, man.
And it's funny. The same thing ladies accuse us of doing, just stepping in trying to give or when they come to us with a problem, they just want us to kind of be present.
Yeah.
And they can kind of sort the issue out later, but that process of them getting it out of their mouth is part of the process of them sorting it out. And it is the same thing with it. Maybe it's just a human thing. It's like, I just got to get this out in a place where I can kind of hear it and I can have somebody else hear it. And then I can unpack it later. Maybe on the ride home.
Yeah.
I'm on a walk with my dog. Like, yo, when I said that and he said that, it's like, yo.
That was real.
Yeah. I think I will do that. Yeah. The point is, like, get to the space where you have those key relationships where you can do.
Yeah, that assertive vulnerability with your partner, that deep relational type impact, information processing with a strong male figure in your life or whoever that may be. But we're talking about male friendship here, so that's what it is. Yeah.
And one thing that the podcast you sent this morning talked about is, and we know we're speaking to an audience that is in this space, is these holes that get created.
There
you have these situations in your life where you didn't get what you needed and something was interrupted. Either emotionally you didn't get the support, or a partner, a significant relationship left, like dad left, mom left, and so you get almost stunted in your development emotionally. Sometimes physically it presents. They talked about that, how
you get stuck.
Yeah. And you need help to get unstuck.
Yeah.
And they talked about it's not enough to simply read a book about, hey, trauma that happened to you when you were 8 years old. You may see these things, like you intellectualize it. Yeah. It's like you have to go back and traverse that emotional space again. Yeah. And I didn't get to the part in the podcast yet where they talk about practically, well, what do you do if you're a 37-year-old man? Yeah. And in a certain section of your life, not every section, you're working, you're holding it down, you're parenting, but there's a certain default that you have that you act like a 7-year-old when this stressor presents.
So this is an emotional reaction that's akin to a 7-year-old.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
how do you walk that space back?
So you have this boy masculinity surrounded by this mature masculinity in other areas of your life.
Exactly. I've seen in my life in my 50s. Hey, it gets stressful. Let me just retreat. Let me just pile this stuff over my desk. Everything else looking cool. Yeah. This section of my office is
and that's some.
You do. You got to sit with it. And then for me, I don't know about you, it reminds me of, when I went to my pop's apartment, and then, these last phases of his life, I was like, okay, my desk looks like his apartment did, right? And it's like, man, that's a fake. And I might have to I'm gonna have to walk that back. Like, why did I do that? Like, what's going on? And so basically, what I'm saying is that that's going back into that hole and doing the work
Mm.
to spackle over that thing and then paint it and then keep it moving, right? And
Yeah.
then we talked about when there's these holes, the important, there's another thing talking about important, friendships, male friendships. I got to develop these friendships with my adult sons because I know there's holes. I took a hammer to the wall of their life and said, 7 years old, bam, 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 bam. Right now, what can I do
Uh-huh.
to come alongside with some tools and say, no,
Yeah.
let's, man, yeah, put some, put
Yeah.
some spackle on
Let's
that
fix that
thing,
up.
fix that over, let that dry, and then come on, I'm gonna help you paint it, right?
Yeah. So it's helping them co-regulate, reflect back on things that you believe you've caused in
No
their
doubt.
life. Yeah.
Yeah. So all that's to say is that you don't do that work alone. You have to have some tight guys where they understand the path you're trying to go on. They understand you're trying to do better as a dad. They understand you're trying to do better as a co-parent. And they either will have walked it with you
Mm-hmm.
or they're able to be a resource to say, hey, I was thinking about that conversation we had. Here's a podcast, man. I
Yeah.
thought of you when I heard this. Hey, take
Yeah.
a listen. Or, hey, we're going to basketball game and they got this symposium for fathers. I thought of you. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so, it's little things like that help, you have company on the journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Very important.
So I think one of the things, multitude of things, well, there's a multitude of things I should say. I should say there are a multitude of things that positive male friendships have.
Right.
Number one, they provide us with a sense of stability,
No doubt.
a social stability, right? Social stability in our lives. They provide us with a sense of confidence. Like when I'm with my group of homies, like we good.
Right.
We out in the pack, right?
Right, yeah.
There's a certain level of confidence you
Right,
get
right.
when you know you with your dudes and
Right,
you're out,
right,
right? So that there's the stability,
Right.
there's confidence, a sense of identity.
Yes.
Right? I know who I am within my group, my specific, strong social group
Right.
of men that I'm with. There's a sense of identity within
Right.
that group. And everybody has this.
Right.
Everyone has that identity within that group. Everybody has a certain level of confidence within that group.
Right.
And everyone feels a certain level of impact
Right.
of being part of that group.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You know your role.
Yeah.
Like somebody's a comedian. Somebody's the logistics guy.
Yeah.
This guy's going to always run 5 minutes late.
You know the single guys versus the married guys.
It's that feeling of belonging, right?
Yeah.
Kind of putting more work.
That you can't get anywhere else, man.
Right.
Like, I'm just getting happy thinking about it. Like, I'm about to go out tonight.
And it's neat. And we're in different, phases. And
Yeah.
you hope to have some boys later. In
Yeah,
life,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I got packed. Like,
You're packed.
I got, 7 sons, and it's like, when we go out, I throw somebody, hey guys, listen, we're going to Commanders game. Who's down? If I say I can do it or down in my town, and we roll up, it is a certain feeling of, this is life.
Yeah.
And so, but you talk about, but with those good times is you're building that cachet of like, almost like a emotional bank account where you can be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You can make some withdrawals.
Yeah.
A cat can come in overdrawn and you're like, hey, put this in your account.
Let's go.
Messed up. You're going to catch some heat. You're going to bounce some checks because of this movie.
Yeah, and we gonna talk some shit.
You're passing too high, dude. You can't wear the, stovepipes no more. We get it to you. But what are we doing? Really? Again? But in the context of no matter what crap you bring us, right, we still down with you, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be down with you. We're here with you for the journey.
Yeah.
But that vulnerability and that trust
Yeah.
is essential.
Man, it's crazy. It's such a great feeling when you're out with your crew, your pack, your homies.
Right.
Man, it's such a great feeling. But the cool thing about that, right? So I have this sense of confidence, right? I have this sense of stability because of my social circle of men, right? I have this sense of identity, right? How does that impact our kids? My confidence, my stability from a social perspective, right? My identity, whoever I am within that group.
Yeah.
How does that jump out the group and impact my life, but more specifically impact my children?
Right? And when you're in heavy parenting, dad mode, locking things down, now the bedtime's at 8 o'clock, no, we're not eating, they see you joking and, guys joning on you and they just see a different side of dad.
Right.
And then it just implies to them, it's important to have these who are going to be yours, with my oldest son, he's a real tight guy. He's the best man in one of his boys from middle schools, or it might even be elementary school. Yeah, time. He's the best man in his wedding later this year, and so his relationship with his best friend mirrors my relationship with the guy that I referenced. Like, hey, just like my relationship with so and so, your relationship, your man's this, and you might have this role in his life. So two things: it lets them see you in a different light, that gives a fuller picture of you as a man,
Yeah.
and then it says, hey, these kind of relationships are a priority.
I agree. That aspect of it, just like, man, we might say this phrase 1,000 times, but more is caught than taught.
Yeah.
And man, ain't that so true, right?
There he is.
Not only that, we are humans in general, not just men,
Right.
but women,
Right.
humans in general.
Right.
We are social creatures.
No doubt.
There's a certain fulfillment that we achieve
Right.
from being social,
Right.
right? A certain level of happiness
Right.
that brings,
Right.
that social interactions
Right.
bring, right? So if I'm happy from a social perspective,
Right.
then I'm going to be happy in other areas of my life.
Yeah.
More likely to be more
Yeah.
inclined to go to the gym with my boys.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
More inclined to do this because I'm socially active.
Right.
And then how does that happiness impact my children?
Right.
Right? So I'm more just happy in general with my children.
Sure.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's a positive impact.
It's a thing. It's a those relationships pour into the bucket.
Yeah.
Your bucket, and you're able to dispense that, to your kids.
Yeah. And I might not have articulated that the greatest way, but yeah, we just shoot from the hip sometimes.
You say things here, and it's like your mind is going to different life experiences.
Yeah.
And so, we're speaking from real life.
Yeah, man.
But, as you said, man, anything positive, anything that builds us up, builds our resilience, like we talked about a couple episodes ago. These things build your resilience to whatever you're going to encounter as a baby dad.
Yeah. So next on the agenda then is identifying those individuals that should be part of your quote unquote wolf pack, and those that should not be part of your wolf pack.
Right.
Now, in both instances, our examples that we given, some of these people have been friends since very early on in our lives.
Yes.
But as you get older, your social circles tend to change and evolve. So there might be a new cat coming into that circle. There might be someone leaving that circle because of distance, because of your growth, because of his growth, because of whatever may be occurring in life. Right?
Yep.
So how do I identify people, and I'm going to use this very carefully, energy givers versus energy takers, right? So what does that look like? Yeah, it's a tough one, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not tough. I don't know if it's something that we just don't think about it a lot.
True.
But we certainly felt it, just like that sigh I gave. It's like you encounter some people and I got to take a deep breath before I interact with them. Or I see them, or their name shows up on the phone, on the caller ID. It's like, it could be any number of things they're going to bring it to.
I'm just going through my Rolodex.
And then there's some people's like, yo, I can't wait to talk to them, right?
Yeah.
Or I know I'm going to be laughing. Or whatever. Yeah. But those ones that are in your inner circle, those 3 a.m. cats, they cannot be energy takers. And that's where you as a man have to be mature enough to say, I know myself, I know what I need. And this inner circle is such a trusted area that I want the kind of people in here that I want to be, right? So I want to be consistent, faithful, man of integrity. Hey, what do you need? Honest. And so I got to have those kind of jokers in there with me. And that takes time. You're not going to discover that. That's an excellent friend. And excellence doesn't, listen to, Founders Podcast, and they were talking about, no. It was another podcast with the co-owner of Watch the Commanders, and he was talking about his businesses. And he's like, excellence takes time.
Yes.
You don't just decide and then you're excellent. It takes a lot of execution. And so with that friendship thing, it's, hey, did dude say he was going to do it? Man, he did more than he said he was going to do. He did this. I listened to that. It's months, years of that person being trusted. And then they're in the inner circle. It's like, yo, man, I never shared this with anybody. And, you build another layer of your relationship. But the point is, those inner people you got to trust them.
Yeah.
And you want the kind of people in there that you want to be, as opposed to
someone that zaps you of your energy.
Yeah. It's just a wild card. Like,
you don't know what they're doing. You don't know where they're going. You don't know what's going on.
What happened?
They have no direction.
Or they just drop something on your plate that's just so like, I want to be down with you, but I can't rock with that, man. Like, I'm married, man. Like,
you want to go on a singles cruise and leave your wife at home? Like, what we doing? I can't be a co-conspirator in this.
You want me to vouch for you? I'm your alibi for when you went to a room?
Like, nah, bro.
I can't do that.
That's a lot of energy, man.
But, and I've been that guy, right? I've been that joker.
Yo, I know I've been on the other side too, man.
Kicked out a couple of circles deep. Like, you're messy, man. You're too messy.
I can remember situations where I'm like, yo, if she asks, just say this.
Or don't say nothing. Or say you ain't seen. You did.
You didn't see me.
So I don't know where John is. Yeah, so we're not judging. We've been
Yeah,
both,
we've been both.
and so we know the value of.
Yeah.
Any-
Man, when you started talking at the first year, I was going through that Rolodex in my head, and I was like, "Yo, there are definitely people that just zap me, and I have to recover after a conversation." I'm like, I put the phone down. I'm like, and my little ones come out there and they're like, "Oh, just give Daddy a minute."
You okay?
I'm like, what happened?
You're drunk like a corner man. Okay, Chan. You're like Paulie. Like,
Right. You see, like when you said you see the name on your phone, and you're just like your heart start changing. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. So identifying the energy givers from the energy takers, and what just this quick reflection, the people that are the most in my inner circle, I'll do anything for, but they ask the least from me.
that is a
Right?
great point.
Yeah.
Wow. Why do you think that is? I mean, I have some ideas, but why do you think that they ask the least for you?
Go back a step. They know I'll do anything.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
That's a great question. Man, that is a really good question. There's also this concept of like when you're willing to do anything for somebody, it's also easier to ask them of something of that person,
Okay.
right?
Right.
Because you know that you're going to get them back in some way.
Yeah.
So, but my closest friends really don't ask a lot of me. But maybe because they get so much of me from a different perspective, right? Maybe they get so much of me from a thought, intellectual,
Right.
emotional perspective
Right.
that they're not asking for these other things.
Right.
They're not asking for monetary things from
Right.
me
Right.
because they're like, yo, Lax pours into me from this perspective
Right.
already. So
Right.
I already receive so much from him.
Right.
And I'm not trying to big up myself
Yeah.
at all, but I'm just trying to work through your question.
I mean, I think, just knowing a little bit about the circle that close circle you have is that you have level up dudes in there. Like,
Man, I'm
dudes
telling you.
that, like, if they had to ask you, if they asked you, they really need it.
Yeah.
Right. But they're, they navigated life where they're mature enough where there's not these huge acute needs. Right. And not that they wouldn't ask you, but it's like, we, like you said, we pour into one another differently. Right.
Yeah.
But I was thinking on my end, like the dudes that I rock with, they're just mature dudes. The things they're asking for is, man, let's catch breakfast because I'm in this caregiving state with my mom right now, and I know you navigated that, and so I really need that from you right now.
Yeah.
And that's the value of selecting the right people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all of y'all are trying to level up together. And so, but there's something to be said for, man, if I call you, I really need it.
Yeah.
I've puzzled through it as much as I can. I'm stuck, and I need your help. Getting over the hump here.
Yeah, I like that concept that you just brought up there. Is that maturity concept. Like I'm gonna work through as much as I can by myself, whatever that situation, whatever that problem is. And then if I get stuck, then I'm reaching out. And I think that's what maturity is about. So it's about working, like taking an example of an emotion, right? I'm working through this emotion of this breakup as much as I can.
Right.
All right, now I'm at a certain point where I need some co-regulation with these emotions, right? I need some time out with the fellas. I need a deep conversation with the fellas. So that's, you're not asking for as much from other people because you've reached a certain level of maturity yourself.
Yeah, using gym analogy, right? Yeah, I'm used to hitting, I'm gonna say 225 6 times, right?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to do 235, so I'm gonna need a spotter. I know that
Well,
around that fourth rep, my arm's gonna start quaking, right? Because I'm a new gram, and so it's having cats that are mature enough to recognize, and you being mature enough to recognize, hey, I'm right at the limit of what I can do. And I think that's why we don't have cats saying, hey, I need, $5,000. Like, how we getting this spot?
you comfortable asking me for $5K? That's crazy.
Right. What happened the previous 3 months when you got 6 paychecks? There's something I don't know about? But it might be a situation where you could talk about that and say, well, let's move forward like this, from here. Energy givers.
Energy givers, man.
Because you're a baby dad, and so we know there's energy being taken from other areas.
Yes.
We know just by default.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
You just have energy cycling away.
So yeah, that's it right there, man. Energy givers versus energy takers. And then with that, right, we have these circles of men that we have invited into our most vulnerable places many times, right? Maybe outside that circle a little bit, maybe within that circle, depending how you define this term, is mentorship. And the importance of mentorship And that is a male friendship, right?
And that's a learned behavior.
Yeah.
You know, that is, I'm intentionally inviting someone with either greater life experience or expertise in a certain area to hold me accountable about certain things I want to do. That's what a mentor does.
Yeah.
You know, a mentor is like, no, you said you wanted to do these things, and hey, I'm bringing a certain level of expertise that can assist with that, but it also comes with these relational responsibilities too.
Right.
You know, if you say, hey, work out, I want to achieve this level of fitness,
Yeah.
and I want you to, you know, be my trainer or mentor in that. And I see you down at, you know, Golden Corral.
Golden Corral.
Third plate. I'm gonna talk to you about that because you invited me to be a mentor. But you were really, really good at that. You know, that's an area that I need to grow in. Right? Would it be more intentional? But speak to how you got to that point and the benefits that it's brought to you.
So how did I get to that point? I think number one is you have to humble yourself. Right? You have to really humble yourself and say, you know what, I'm not good at this. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at this. Who is? Can I invite them into my life? Right? And be upfront with them.
Right.
And like, you're a really good dude. I value your opinion.
Right.
I value your insights. And I want to take some things from you. I want to steal some things from you, right? I want to steal your some of those things that you do well. Are you willing to help me do that? And what I have found is the people that are most successful are the most willing to help.
You know, I heard that on a podcast.
Yeah.
Founders, they talk about.
Yeah. Founders definitely talks about that.
That's so counterintuitive.
Yeah. But the man that I consider my biggest mentor in life, right? Absolutely would pour anything into me.
Right.
Just a quick example, right? I'm talking to my BM, right? My BM, I'm like, hey, you know. Yeah, number one. I'm like, she works in the same field as us, and I'm like, yo, I need some assistance with this certain situation I told you about, right? And she's like, I got you, because that's the type of relationship we have now. She got me, right? Boom, 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 boom. She's working on it, and she's like, yeah, I contacted so and so. I was like, and I didn't even reach out to this person because I didn't want to put that on his plate because he's assisted me so much, and it's that same concept of not asking a lot of people that will do the most for you, but. And he's my mentor, right? But she has a connection with him as well because of professional settings.
Right.
And she reaches out to him. She's like, yo, you know, John fumbled the bag on this joint. You got him? He's like, well, you have to ask. I got him. And she's like, yo, I reached out to so-and-so. And I was like, you did? Because I didn't really want to go that path because he's helped with so much. Right. But he on the case now, man. Because he's willing to do certain things for certain people, you know. And I've been real upfront with him. I'm like, yo, this is how I view you. Like, it's a great dynamic friendship we have, but I also view you as a mentor. You know, from in life, professionally, business wise, all these things. Because you want to emulate people that do things well. Right? You do. You don't want to take everything because none of us are perfect. So you want to see, all right, this is where he kind of, I don't want to do that, but I do want to do this. You know. And I want to do a lot of that. Yeah. So
that's good. And I, you know, and when you talked about, when we saw that on the, you know, the talk sheet, I was like, I know that you might have the other mentors, but I know because we've talked, and that particular guy is the epitome of a mentor. Like a good mentor is aspirational for you, but also be like, yo, you know, you got skid marks in your drawers, and this is.
You know how real he's kept it with me before? I'm like, damn, yo, chill.
Yeah, I remember doing the same guy, you know, back with baby mama number 2, and I was like, why is she acting about it? He said, think about it from her situation. Just messy. You unstable. The man is unstable. The woman is a reflection of the man. You're going to see instability from her because you unstable.
Yeah. Yo.
It will keep it real. He'd be like, look, you need to get out here, the scrubbing thing and some borax and get them stains out of your drawers. And then when they dry out, I'm ready for you. Like, he keeps it real. After he sees what you could become.
Yes, absolutely. And he loves pouring into people, man.
Really does. And that's a good mentor. A good mentor is not selfish or stingy with their time.
No.
And, you know, like you said at the outset, it's counterintuitive that people are so successful, that's their default. But I think because they know people poured into them.
Yes.
So it's worth it to invest the time to find a good mentor. And like you said, I think the key thing you said, you nailed it on the head, is that you got to be humble. You come to them knowing that I'm deficient in this area, but I aspire to be, you know, better in this area, and you're already really good.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm coming to.
It's so well said. And do not limit yourself to people that you can physically interact with as mentors, right? There are digital mentors out there. Right? People in social media, people in books, that can be your mentor. They might not know it, but they are your mentor. Listen, I have some mentors. They have no idea I exist.
This man used ChatGPT, a mastermind of, like, what is it, like a half a dozen?
Yeah. Two different groups. I got two different groups. I got a business mentor group,
Okay. All right.
with Thomas Edison, Elon Musk, and these guys, right? Andrew Carnegie, right? And then I got that life mentor group with Jordan Peterson and some other cats.
Okay.
And I'll bounce things off of them. I'm like, yo, what's good with this? What's
And so it's neat how you leverage technology. Like you said, you can set up this stream of information that helps you, that just gives you things to think about, right?
Yeah.
Like, yo, I never thought about approaching it from that way. Or they tap you into a resource. You know, we get books and podcasts from my mentors a lot, you know, and it's like, I would have never thought about that had I not come across, particularly books, because you know somebody has sat down and really just given a lot of thought.
Yeah. And sometimes years of research goes into these books. There's decades of research. Read that. And one of the biggest takeaways that I've taken from reading books is that when it's a good book, it vibes with you, read it again and again and again. Because every time you read it, you pull something different from it. I've read Atomic Habits probably 3 or 4 times. I've read it, Darren Hardy's Compound Effect 3 or 4 times. I've read the 5 a.m. Club at least 3 times. These are books that I'm just, and every time I read, it's different now. Yeah. And it's like, it might be the same sentence that I realized the first time, but the third time it had a completely different meaning because I'm in a different area of my life.
Yeah,
so
life experience. So good. So, to wrap up.
Well, you know what I want to do? Because there's so much more important stuff on this topic.
Okay.
I want to cut it right here and I want to come back and finish.
Okay, so
how's that sound?
Take a time out, a halftime. There you go. I love it.
Yeah.
Very good.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about male vulnerability, right? Trust among men, right? And then we're going to go back a little bit into that topic that we brought up, or that concept we brought about assertive vulnerability. I want to talk about the myth of doing it all alone and some other very important concepts that aligned with this overarching concept that we've been discussing today. And that's the power of male friendship and the positive impact that it can have on you and your children.
Yeah. So until next time.